I look super crooked. I guess that's how that's going to go today. Can I move? There we go. Okay. It's a little bit better. Hey, everybody on TikTok. How are you? Welcome, everyone on Instagram. And last but not least, welcome everyone on YouTube and Facebook. Hope everybody's doing well. Happy Father's Day to all you single moms and all of you great dads out there. And especially those of you who have lost a father. We're going to give this a few minutes to let everybody tune in. If you guys could please give me a thumbs up on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook. Just let me know that you can hear me and see me all right. That would be super helpful before we go ahead and get started. Christina and I don't want to be sitting here talking to ourselves in spirit. Okay. All right. Hey, Ivy and Christina can hear and see you. Vanessa. All right. Thank you so much, Vanessa. Excellent. Before we get into some of the announcements. All right. Sandy got a thumbs up there. TikTok. Thanks, guys. Got a whole bunch. Instagram. That's fine, Instagram, because there's nothing I can do about it now anyway. Anyways, we're just going to have to wing it. All right. So hopefully it's all right. For those of you who, if you have any trouble watching this or tuning in, please do go to YouTube at Ask Ivy. I'm always trying to migrate everyone over to my YouTube page, and this will be published. For those of you who are like, wait, what did they say? Or we had a bunch of people chime in today with it being Father's Day and such a hot topic. A bunch of people said, I really can't get there. I have something going on, a family celebration or what have you. This will be published. Go to YouTube at Ask Ivy. It should go up either by the end of the night or tomorrow. It takes YouTube a little while to go through the publishing cycle. All right, so before we get into some quick announcements, we do have a word here from our sponsor. It's time to shop smarter, not harder. At Cash Auctions, we make it easy to save money while you're shopping. Our innovative system integrates online auctions and convenient credit card payment options to enhance your shopping experience. Start your adventure today by visiting cashauction.com and find out why Cash Auction is the best way to shop. And if you would like to become one of our sponsors, either on my social media or for my radio show every Tuesday, 105.3 FM, you can contact me through any platform and we'll get you set up as a sponsor. All right, a couple quick announcements coming up. If you guys want to book an astrology chart with Reverend Christina DelRey, you can see here on YouTube, again, at Ask Ivy, right under her title, where you can do that with her. She is, let me see, it's hard for me to read. Okay, cpakirski88@gmail.com. If you want to book a reading or a party with me or a whole psychic fair, you can go to ivyrivera.psychicmedium.com. I do want to get right into, I know we're going to go through a bunch of ads and announcements, but I just really don't feel like it today. Okay, so if you want to get an astrology class with Christina, you're going to go to ivyleaguepsychicacademy.com. She's got a couple great classes up there. So the big three. If you don't know your sun, moon, rising in astrology, you're just kind of meandering through life, okay? If you're just going by your sun sign, not good enough, right, Christina?
Not even close.
Not even close. Not by far. Your sun sign, not as significant as you may think. Your moon, your rising. You need to know these. Also, for those of you looking to increase your love life, have a better experience with dating, the apps are like, okay, always a downer. This knowledge of synergy between those three signs for your other person is absolutely imperative. And it's good for like work partnerships, okay, all kinds of family dynamics and relationships. So get to know your big 3 that's up at ivyleaguepsychicacademy.com. Also, if you want to get certified at the Ivy League Psychic Academy in tarot, Christina DelRey also teaches that. So it's called The Art of Tarot. And she's going to train you in both the traditional method of using the cards and the intuitive method, which is going to help you to elevate to mediumship. Usually when people use the cards, they get stuck with it. So if you're the kind of tarot reader who's sick and tired of being stuck with your cards, you're like, I just don't have the guts to put them down. I've been using them for 15, 20, 25 years. Christina is going to get you there. Okay. You can do readings without the cards if you are elevating through the intuitive method. And if you just love using the cards, that's great. But if you want to incorporate more mediumship, which is not always an easy transition, again, she's going to get you there. So check it out. The Art of Tarot up at ivyleaguepsychicacademy.com. My psychic mediumship course, 28 weeks, or you can get the shortened version, 10 weeks, is also up on the website. Registration is now open. All right, perfect. Thank you, Jill, our beautiful producer. She just popped that up on the screen here on YouTube at Ask Ivy if you want to see more detail on that. You guys should also be able to go in the description above or below, depending on where you're tuning in, to get more info. But the psychic mediumship course, I have not offered in person for like 4 years. We all know why. Okay. So all the drama finally starting to clear out and calm down a bit. We are back to in person, but that doesn't start until October. If you don't want to wait to join in October, it's evergreen. So you can join classes in person if you want. You can do it online. You could do it through video download. But if you want to be with a group, that's going to start in October. So go ahead, get yourselves registered. You can go to psychicmediumshipcourse.com, or you can just go to ivyleaguepsychicacademy.com. I am planning on opening up the 1882 Victorian Funeral Home, 2 blocks from the beach here in Dunkirk, New York, the headquarters for the Ivy League Psychic Academy, to retreats. Okay, so that was pretty exciting. Christina and I are talking about opening up for tarot retreats, astrology retreats, paranormal retreats, and certainly the psychic mediumship course boot camp. So follow me to find out more about that as we get closer. All right, so let's get into today's sermon. So welcome, everyone. I'm Ivy Rivera. I am your pastor. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino Airwalk, and this is Roots Revival Interfaith, where we believe in the 3 truths, that is intuitive intelligence, astrology, and numerology, to guide you on your life's path, to help you to heal, to transmute all negative energy into power and positive energy, and ultimately to get out there and help others do the same through integrity and character development. I am here with the beautiful Reverend Christina DelRey, our astrologer. How are you, Christina?
I'm good. I'm out of practice. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. So yeah, we missed you guys all last month, but there was so much going on. We had to take a brief break. So it really is nice to be back. All right. Good to see you, Christina. Today's sermon topic is on absent and lost fathers. I'm going to try to keep my emotion out of this. I'm usually pretty good at turning that off. I really didn't realize I would have any until I got started. And I already warned Christina. Okay. A bit of a problem here. My father did just pass. So, okay, I'm going to do the best that I can. But when Spirit brought this topic to me, I was a little hesitant to even do this at all, because it can bring up a lot of traumatic memories for people, can be a trigger topic in general, even if you had a supportive father, especially if you lost, a supportive father. But the more Spirit was showing me on this topic, I really felt very compelled to bring this to you guys. And I hope that it helps you to find some answers and healing that you may be looking for, regardless of what the nature is or was with your father. And I do encourage you guys, because we are an interactive church, to post your questions or comments throughout the sermon. And Jill, our beautiful producer, will be taking them at the end, and Christina and I will try to get to everybody. Also, I want to encourage you to post your prayer and healing requests throughout the sermon. Christina and I pray over those, manifest for you, and send healing to you even after the production is published. So let's get into today's sermon topic, absent and lost fathers. One of the most common questions I get asked in regard to parents is, why the heck would I have chosen this parent? So the first thing I want to talk about, let's just get it out of the way. Let's talk about an absent father. Let's talk about an abusive father. Let's talk about a neglectful parent. I think that when we feel as though our parent failed us, and I'm validating, okay, for many of you, that is absolutely the case. We would start to wonder if we personally have bad juju, or if we have some kind of karmic payout, okay, that we have accumulated because we did something bad. We would wonder about the validity of justice existing in the world, especially within universal law. And it can really throw not only our sense of self off, if we ever had one at all, but definitely our security in the world. And it can really break any faith that we had if we think the universe does not have our back. There is no universal law. Everything is chaos, okay? This is really going to require that you stretch yourself a little bit tonight. So if you are the kind of person who had an absent or abusive, neglectful father, and you want to know why on earth you got stuck with such a terrible situation, I want to bring this to your attention. And I want you to just keep an open mind, if you could, just even for a week of your life, okay, the upcoming week, do some homework. Try to stay open to the possibility that you chose this person. When we come to earth, we choose our parents. Did my whole screen just go out? Are we already seeing paranormal conflict? Okay, well, it did for me. We'll see. All right, you guys, I can't control, all right, what the energy is going to do here. It's going to be an interesting ride. When you come to earth, you choose your parents. And when you choose them, you are typically picking people that are going to help you to fulfill whatever work it is that you are coming to earth to do. No one's coming here to have a good time. If you haven't noticed, okay, this is a bit of an S show here. And this is like a battleground, okay? It can feel like a battleground for your soul. And you are constantly being forced to grow and to learn and to persevere. Life is not about fun and games. And so part of your growth and development is about unfinished business from past lives. I like to think of filling out a life contract and choosing our parents, okay, as looking at sort of the inbox, the to-do list from past lives and saying, okay, what have I got over here that I need to get done? And then you take the things that you want to accomplish and you look at your parents and you pick them because they're going to help you to accomplish those tasks. They can either help you by being super supportive or they can help you by dumping you, okay, or by hurting you in that area. And often the fast track to getting things done is choosing the latter. So if you have chosen a dad who was not there for you, who was not supportive, who was maybe even abusive, who caused a lot of trauma for you, you are going to be on a fast track to fulfilling whatever tasks, lessons, growth, karma it is that you came here to accomplish. If you choose a father who is going to be highly supportive, they're for you in different areas of growth, you may actually find that you have a different set of challenges, that you rest on your laurels, that you're lazy in those areas where you need a lot of growth and development, that you've been maybe almost overly pampered or cared for, and you don't have the same kind of drive that somebody else who got nothing would have. Sort of like you constantly have to have somebody lighting a fire under your rear end to get you moving, okay? So, we see that we do in a life contract choose our parents to get things done. And that can go either way. Who knows why you chose what you did? Ask your higher mind, Everybody has a different story, but I assure you, you did. And again, I'm going to ask you this week to stay open just for a week of your life to the possibility that that is true, and ask the universe to show you more about why that would be, how that can help you to heal, how you can use that and transmute the negativity of what happened into something more powerful. And pay attention to your dreams also over the course of the next week. They're going to get very vivid. They're going to get very intense. And for those of you who have lost an abusive father, you may even see visitations from him helping you along. That's normal. For those of you who have a father who's living but absent, even his spirit may be showing up in your dreams, okay? And you may be working together on some of that karma, okay? Also normal. I do find that we have karmic debt with our parents. So you have a father who is indebted to you karmically. That means you guys have a contract together, okay? And if he is absent, he was abusive, he is neglectful, he is still going to have to honor that contract. Whatever it is that he owes you doesn't just dissipate because he didn't do his job. Okay. So wherever he is in the world, if he's alive, he is still being pushed to serve and help you out in those areas, which may be why he shows up so much in your dreams. And if you guys could go into the comment section and let me know if you have an absent or abusive father and he does show up a lot in your dreams. Now, let's say you have an absent or abusive father who passes away. That work will actually continue, not only in your dreams, but also in the world around you. So your father, who has karmic debt to you to repay what he did not give or to repair the damage that he did, he will be responsible on the other side in spirit to put the right people on your path, to put that money that you need on your path, to put those opportunities on your path, to protect and shield you from toxic situations that he technically may have gotten you in from years of abuse or neglect. Okay. So you're not just going to see him in your dreams. You're going to see that somebody in the universe, almost like you have a horseshoe up your rear end, is constantly coming in to interject in situations to get you what you need. So the passing of your father may be in a very timely alignment with what seems like good luck or a change in your circumstances. It isn't. It's him. It's what he owes. The debt must be paid. Now, when a spirit crosses over into the light, they have already made the agreement to pay their karmic debts. They're working on the other side. Okay. If your dad is earthbound, that's a different set of circumstances. Feel free to drop your questions and we could talk about that if you feel that that's a problem that you're having. Now, if you have a dad who was great or things were pretty darn good, okay, he passed away, you love him, you miss him, he is still working with you on the other side. A bond, like a parent to child contract, does not just dissolve because one person transfers over to the other side. So your father in spirit is still energetically working with you. I would say that your dad is probably working with you in a couple key areas of your life, almost like a guide, and is probably working alongside your guide in that area or those areas, like your joy guide who watches over your mental and emotional well-being, or your work and money guide, or your relationship guide, okay? You may even think that your guide is your dad, but that's typically not the case. It's more that your father is working tightly with that guide to bring you what you need and to give you the guidance that you're seeking. So we have to understand that they're not coming in to do everything for us. They are coming in to show us what needs to be done and to assist us in fulfilling the rest of our life contract. Okay. And they are fulfilling their own debt in turn. So there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. on a personal note, and I'm not going to stay on this long because I don't know emotionally how I'm going to handle it, but you know, my father brought nothing, seemingly so, into my life but pain and heartache. An alcoholic, physically abusive. If me and my sister were laughing at night, we got horrifying beatings. We got beatings for no reason on a regular basis. My sister especially, absolutely traumatizing to lose your entire childhood and an inability to let go and to laugh and to be a normal person because the person who you think is supposed to love you the most took it from you. And, you know, as I got older, he would make promises about things and then like not follow through. So I learned never to trust anybody, you know, who says they want to come in and help me with something. It creates such a long-term damaging effect on, and you know, I appreciate all of you. Okay, please share if you feel comfortable doing so for those on that type of a journey. Now, I'm 43 and he was pretty young, but he passed last year again, you know, from the drinking. It's amazing it waited that long. So I, at a fairly younger age, already lost a parent to their own self-abuse. But I did notice that right before he passed, because I knew it was going to happen, given me being a medium, and I was not there for the passing, and I did not say goodbye, and there was really no point. This isn't someone I deal with, okay? But, you know, I did start to notice that the karmic debt that was owed started to be paid even before his passing and around the time of his passing and in the last year after his passing. He just passed this last summer. I have seen rapid, insane development in my life in all areas where this man would owe me debt, where this man needs to make right situations from either what he did not deliver or what he stole. And I think we all have to be aware that sometimes a parent takes more from us than they ever give until they pass. Okay. So it's not always such a bad deal in the end. But it's becoming like scientific, like I'm studying and just keeping track of everything. And it's kind of crazy to watch, really. Christina, I do want to turn this over to you. Before we do that, again, for those of you tuning in late, welcome. This is Roots Revival Interfaith. And we are talking about absent and lost fathers today. I want to invite you to post your prayer and healing requests. Christina and I do get to them for weeks. Even we pray and manifest over your prayer and healing requests. I also want to invite you to post any comments, questions you may have. We're an interactive church, so we will be taking your questions at the end of service today. Also, please do give this video a thumbs up wherever you're tuning in from. Subscribe, especially if you're here on YouTube at Ask Ivy, and hit that bell to get alerts for when we go live. Donations are always appreciated. Christina, Reverend Christina, our astrologer, I would love to hear what you have to say on tonight's sermon.
Well, first of all, I'm going to touch on, you had said we choose our parents, and you know, that is obvious in astrology in many ways, but one of the ways that is I think obvious is that we will mirror something of our fathers very often in our charts. So it might have been you know, a combination of planets that have a difficult aspect, or it might be a moon that he has, but and both of my children mirror their father's chart in some way. And I also mirror my father's chart as well. So, you know, we are all karmically connected, and we really chose these parents so to advance our soul. It's really what we came to do. But, you know, with that comes free will. So we have to sort of, when we're in this life and we do, you know, like we endure abuse, or, you know, whatever happened there, we have to then choose how we're going to deal with it. And then we have to decide if we're going to let it swallow us up or if we're going to let it empower us. And, you know, like you have to look at dad as an example, how to be or how not to be. There's like no in between. And, you know, we must strive to be different if we did not have the best of fathers. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you're going through the trauma, you know. So when I look back at my own traumas, you know, and now, like, especially knowing astrology, I can honestly say that men don't know how to deal with their problems a lot of times. And because of that, and because society accepts that, there's not much growth there. So, you know, as a society, men need to level up in that area. You know, there are some really wonderful dads out there, absolutely. But, you know, like this is a common thing. It's more common than not, right? When I'm looking in the chart, and I look at, like, you know, and nobody usually asks about dad, to be honest, but I can look for dad in the chart. You could look to your Saturn, and you look to the sun as well. So moon is mom, sun is dad, but Saturn is also dad. And if you know Saturn is the planet of karma. So Saturn's all about karmic contracts. So there is a karmic element here. Now, when you look at Saturn, wherever that is in your chart, you want to see what kind of aspects it's making. If it's making hard aspects, so, you know, not easy aspects, then, you know, you're probably going to have some struggle with the father. Depending on what house Saturn is in, your father might be absent, or he might be emotionally absent, depending on where it is. He could be physically there, but not emotionally there. The sun and the moon, this is very interesting, I think. The sun and the moon and the aspects they have to each other, if they make any at all, kind of speak how your parents got along too. And I think it's interesting because, you know, I always looked at one of my children's charts has sun square moon. And so the moon's mom, sun is dad. And he also has this aspect in his chart. And, you know, it mirrored it in my child's. And I do not have this. And it usually speaks to parents that don't get along. When I had her, we got along. And I was like, this is so weird. I wonder what this means. 12 years later, we do not get along. So yeah, astrology speaks volumes. You know, you look at the sun, you look at the moon, you know, to see how mom figures in, but Saturn has a huge deal with dad. And the 10th house too. A lot of times we look at the 10th house as the highest part of the chart, but it also has to do with the father. It does say something. And if you look at the ruler of the 10th house, now Ivy, so yours actually, so now that I'm just thinking, because I know Ivy's chart in my head, but you know, you have your Neptune rules yours. And Neptune, what is the dark side of Neptune? Drinking, drugs.
Wow.
So, you know what I mean? Like, so these things are very, and, you know, and that's not even looking at what Neptune is doing in your chart, because if we look at what Neptune's doing, that might even tell us more, you know, so that's how we get the information. But I don't know, that just kind of flashed into my mind. So, so that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it all traces back.
It does.
And, you know, Saturn is also commitment and responsibility. And what are you when you're a father? You're committed to this child. I don't care if you're not there or not. You're exactly committed to them.
That's right.
You have to, you know, you have to be that, like, there's a contract there. And like you said, you might not have fulfilled it in this life. Maybe you ran from it. Maybe, maybe, you know, somebody passed away and they didn't get it, but the afterlife, or the next life is going to be where you have to go redo that. You have to, because the karmic debt definitely has to be paid. Also too, I think that it's really put upon us. And I think I don't know. It just seems like in these times that we're in right now, where things are moving quickly, it does seem like we are tasked with, and maybe for the first time in a large capacity, we are tasked with breaking family curses.
Yes.
Like we are being, that is coming forward more and more and more. So in order to change those family patterns, you have to know what they are, and you have to acknowledge them and do the shadow work around them, because no one gets better without facing it.
That's right.
Yeah, your dad was abusive, your dad was, horrible, or your dad wasn't there, or your dad died before you really knew him, or your dad ran off, whatever the case may be. We have to look at the ugly side of that and sort of deal with it and mourn it. You know what I mean? Like mourn the fact that you didn't have a good father. Yeah, you deserved one, but you mourn it, you know what I mean? And then it's really sort of, it has to do with forgiveness too, because we have to forgive in order to move on. Doesn't mean that we have to accept bad behavior. It doesn't mean that we condone it at all, but we also have to realize that, first and foremost, we have to love ourselves. And secondly, whatever issues he had, that really didn't have anything to do with us. That had to do with him and him not facing his own shadow. Yeah. So if he didn't face his own shadow, that really is not your fault. You know what I mean? Like he's going to have to do it sooner or later. He's just pushing it off. But you on the other hand, you have the free will to really dive deep into that, see how that, was very messed up and really affected your life. And then you have the free will to make choices for your own children or for people around you or just for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, and forgiveness is a big one because you really can't keep going otherwise. Yeah, the 10th house ruler and the aspects are really important. I think that.
Did you say 10th house ruler and aspects? 10th house.
10th house ruler, whatever's on the cusp of the 10th house. So if Pisces is there, then Neptune is the ruler. Then you look to see what house Neptune is in. You look to see what Neptune is doing in the chart, like those types of things. So I think also too, because family dynamics are changing so much in America, that the father's role is changing. And I think that, when we're raising our sons or we are teaching boys at school, I think that we need to acknowledge these things. We need to bring them into, maybe we need to bring them into the classroom and deal with them. Maybe we need to bring them into, and talk about role reversal, and what is the role that you would want to play? And, just because society says this is the role, well, maybe that's not how you are going to play it. So I think that we need to really talk about the role of fathers too, and maybe redefine that as well, because clearly what's going on is not working. So, I don't know. It's just, it needs to be talked about a little more. It needs, kids need to express it a little bit more. And, we all have to, many households are without fathers, without men in there. So, somebody has to step up and do that role. So, you have to teach kids who don't have a father, it's okay. You don't need one. Like, should you have a trusted person, that's great, that you can rely on. But if you don't have one, that's okay. It doesn't make you any less. Like, you can compensate for that and it's okay. So I don't know. I think that all these things are healing, and the shadow work is really hard. But the astrology for me is so clear, that it helps me to make sense of why I went through what I went through, why, you go through what you went through. And I remember when your dad died, nobody even told you. You just told me one day, my dad's dying. I feel it.
Psychically.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and it was coming in your dreams and everything.
Yep.
So you just knew.
Yep.
So, I mean, like if there wasn't karmic, if that wasn't a karmic contract, I don't know what it is,
Right.
So, I just think that, we all need to heal. And of course we need to recognize those fathers that, are there. If the father thing is not your struggle, that's great. I'm sure you have struggles somewhere else. But I think we have a lot to work on when it comes to fathers. Absolutely.
Yeah, as a whole, part of the revolution, part of the movement going on right now. I love that you brought that up. And I just did a Pride Fest. It was yesterday. And I have to say that so many of these kids who were calm and centered, and they seemed like old souls, and they were truly happy and enjoying themselves. They had two moms, they had two dads, they had a mix of, I don't know what was going on, and it's like, it doesn't, when you said we need to talk to children about this more who have an absent father, you know what I mean? And let them know it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to have that typical dad figure in your life to do well. We need to start accessing other resources and talk about it more openly. Because I think the majority of us, that's our story.
Yeah. And it's not going anywhere.
No, it clearly is not going anywhere anytime soon, because we've got so much catching up to do.
Yeah. And we have to work on that, how we handle that as a society, instead of telling them, oh, you should have had a father, you should have had this. Well, they don't. So now what? Now we gotta adjust. We gotta move on. We gotta, pivot, and we gotta figure it out.
It is not your debt. It is his debt. That's it. Okay. And you may have done better without him. I remember when my father, there was some pity party about, I'm leaving, and I want to say he was married. I think it was 3 times in 5 years. So like I would have a pop-up new family, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. And then there was like, oh, he's going to go, we're going to get rid of him. And I said, thank God, because I couldn't imagine things getting much worse. Somebody was going to get seriously hurt. And we had already been so damaged. And I was like, but that's what happens when you don't have a mother who knows any better. You know what I mean? Like, oh no, he's going to go, sorry kids. And we were like, thank God, because I thought my sister was going to do away with him. She had plans. She had plans to do away with him next time he came in that room, just because we were laughing at night, and I was like, this is going to end up like on the news. And after that, life started to improve in some ways. And anytime he re-entered, it was sheer chaos, and so we have to acknowledge how common this story is. And it is better for them to go away and get the help that they need before they re-enter. And I think, moms and whatever, co-parents, you need to be more serious about that too. How much damage have we done, even to our own children, saying, well, they need a dad. Well, we should let him be around. Be careful. Be very careful. I do want to comment on a couple things you said, Christina, but also just a quick word from our sponsor here. If you guys want to sponsor Roots Revival, if you want to sponsor any of my social media accounts or my radio show, thank you for popping that up. Jill, our beautiful producer, just put up the sponsorship link, and you guys can reach out to me wherever, you can get in contact with me if you want to be a sponsor for this or my radio show on 105.3 on Tuesdays. So it's time to shop smarter, not harder. At Cash Auctions, we make it easy to save money while you're shopping. Our innovative system integrates online auctions and convenient credit card payment options to enhance your shopping experience. Start your adventure today by visiting cashauction.com and find out why Cash Auction is the best way to shop. All right. And thank you to cashauction.com. I do want to comment, and then we are going to get to your questions. If you have not posted your prayer and healing request, your questions and comments, now would be the time. We're going to get to you here in a second. But Christina, when you said that this is generational, I want to explain why it is for so many of you who come to me for a reading, you hear from loved ones on the other side that you don't love very much, who didn't show you love. You say, I don't know him. I don't want to know him. I heard terrible things about him, right? This person abandoned me, or like, that's a grandfather I never met, or that's an ancestor. I have no clue what you're talking about. It's not that you have no clue or that you don't know who or what I'm talking about. You don't want to. And this is the thing to understand. The reason you may have grandparents, okay, uncles, dads that you don't want to hear from, whatever it is, coming through in your readings is because they have karmic debt. So it's not all about you. It's an opportunity for you to accept whatever they owe you. I like to think of it like getting an inheritance. Okay. So you don't have to be like lovey-dovey with them. You don't have to start, having kumbayas, communicating with them in spirit or talking to them at all. But you should accept the debt that's owed if it can better your life. And they do owe it, and they will incessantly keep giving it because it's what they have to do. Okay. So we do see in these generational curses, which I don't believe in, but I do believe in generational programming. I do believe in toxic psychological damage, okay, and bad behaviors handed down. And this is really what we're talking about when we say generational curses and you healing and breaking a generational curse. And one way to do that is for you to accept the debt they owed. Thank you very much. I will accept that. You do owe it. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. And little by little, you start to sort of repair that relationship, even if you never knew them, or even if they did damage to your grandpa and your father and it trickled down to you. Okay. Or if you never had a relationship with your father, it does sort of help for you to say, all right, well, we're still, it's amazing how you continue to build on relationships even after somebody is gone. Also, when Christina, you talked about like reincarnating and having to do this again. One of the grossest things I see in my readings is that I'm reading a couple, okay, and they're lovers, and that was their dad, okay, or that was their mom, that was their whatever sibling, but it's often, especially with a love affair that is super dynamic, really passionate, impossible to leave or break away from. They haunt you in your dreams. Years can pass, oceans away. It does not matter. With those love affairs, I am telling you, there is a high probability it is a karmic contract and this was your dad, all right? Or you were the dad or something like this. So we see that if it doesn't all get paid, you will come back in a different form so they can give you in those areas whatever it is that they owe. And sometimes that's a good way to, collect. We don't have to get into it. Anyways, all right, we're going to go ahead and take your questions and comments. Jill, if you want to start popping them up. I forgot my glasses, like always. All right, let's see what we're doing here. I never knew my real father and only had a stepfather in my younger years. This is from Masubia. Yeah, and when we have a dad figure, stepdad, what have you, it's very possible that that person has a contract with you also. So I call them cosmic kids. You can absolutely have a dad who is not biologically related to you. Christina, any insight on that astrologically or otherwise?
Yeah, usually that you can tell that in the chart too. Stepchildren are 11th house, I believe. So some people actually have it in their chart that they're not supposed to have their own children, but they're supposed to have other people's children. So that does show up in the chart. And actually, just recently, I was like, wait a minute, like this woman was pregnant. And I'm like, okay, but like it's kind of showing that you're supposed to have stepchildren. She's like, oh yeah, like she was artificial, or she had an embryo, and it was her wife and a sperm, but it was implanted in her. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. So yeah, like it shows up in the chart. So that is definitely a thing, and that is it could be good karma. You know what I mean? And very healing.
Cosmic kids. A lot of times, especially again, especially with the LGBTQ community, we're seeing it more and more, that your kids may not be like biologically, related, but those contracts can be even more powerful than most of the biological contracts we see. So yeah, can't be underrated. Those step parents or whatever, step in parents. All right. And we have another question or comment. All right. So this is from a Julie Reynolds. When my son was 4 years old, his father passed away in a motorcycle accident. Was this a soul contract between them or just an accident? Well, there are no accidents. We choose when we're going to die before we come to Earth. So when we fill out that life contract, you pick a whole bunch of potential death points. Death, I always say, is highly negotiable up to an extent. And then eventually, we're all going to have to go at some point. But that would have been something that he chose. This is where we want to stop centering ourselves around other people. Okay. So when someone passes, we shouldn't say, why did they do this? Why did this happen? Why did the world do this to me? Why did they go? It's about them. They have their own journey. You have your own journey. And it's not an accident just because it didn't feel good to you or to the child. This is most likely in this case, and what I'm feeling intuitively about this is that this was a situation where this child had a lot to accomplish. And because the dad could not do as much for the child being here to fulfill that contract, they were going to have far more power on the other side to help him along. He chose to relocate to the other side. So that's a common experience when we meet soulmates, when we have a kid contract. You can see that the other person will go to the other side in the nick of time to help bring that assistance in a more powerful way from where they are. And it just doesn't make sense emotionally. Christina?
Yeah, sometimes you can see loss of the father in the chart. I wouldn't say always, but they're always still there.
Right.
And, and they will bring you messages and things like that. It's that the struggle it's part of the struggle. It is. And it's a very unfortunate struggle because especially if he was a good dad and, but yeah, the soul does, choose the points. It doesn't necessarily mean that was the point for some reason. That was one of his points and he decided to take it. Yeah. I don't have a whole lot to say about that, but sometimes it comes up in the charts.
It reminds me a lot of watching someone in the family, for example, pass away, and then within a matter of months, someone else passes away in the family. And I always say, it's that person went first to meet them, to help them transfer over. We see this a lot with married couples. We see this a lot in parent to child dynamics. Not that anything obviously like that is happening here with your question. But that's a great example of that. One person goes and they bring the other ones over. Okay. So it's just part of the work that we have to do with each other. And sometimes there's just a whole lot more we could do from over there. Remember, going over there is never the ending. It's just another phase, right?
And sometimes that is the lesson for the kid. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like the father not being there. That's almost like the lesson the struggle he had to have so that he could do what he was supposed to do in life too. I don't know if that makes sense, but
100%. And we have another question coming in here. I do see you guys dropping your prayer and healing requests. Keep doing so. Question from Juanita Vaquez. My dad passed away 2008. He was an alcoholic. Okay. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, that's a really difficult one to deal with because, when you have a dad who is an alcoholic, it's like you're getting two different people. You're getting potential. And I have found that, like, in my dating life, for example, right? Because who you choose to date, who you choose to marry, who you're attracted to romantically, which is gross, but it is psychologically proven, you tend to pick that theme from that relationship. And so when you have a dad who is an alcoholic, you would have had a great person when he was sober or when he was doing well in life with so much potential. And then you have this disappointing, heartbreaking potential monster, right? And so you can become addicted to situations that have great potential, to lovers that have great potential, right? To dreams and idealizations in your life that just have so much potential. And you realize half the time, you could spend your whole life living in a fantasy world and just getting kicked in the teeth over and over and over again. So I feel for you, Juanita, and I think it's a great place to look for any additional shadow work you may have to do. Because again, this is something we really don't talk about a ton, and it's incredibly, incredibly common. Okay, if Christina doesn't have any feedback on that, we're going to move on to the next comment or question. Vanessa says, my father is passed. He was very supportive of me, especially when my parents divorced. That's good. So, so that's wonderful. And I think that sometimes we have that story, where dad was super supportive. And you may have to also look then in areas of your life where you've struggled, where he was supportive. So again, we talked about this briefly in the beginning of the sermon. If you have a super supportive dad, sometimes you can have struggles in that area where the universe is having to push you really hard. You're having a lot of tests and challenges and trials and tribulations and blocks and obstacles, because you were given what you needed from him, but now you have to push yourself to get past certain barriers. And it can be almost like a feeling of laziness, or resting on your laurels, like you need extra push in that area to get things done. So that could be, something to examine. There are pros and cons to everything. There really are. There's a high vibration and a low vibration to literally everything. Christina, anything you want to add to that?
Not really. I mean, I think it's really nice that your dad was supportive, like in doing what a parent should do. It's just too bad it's not more common.
Yeah. We have another question or comment coming in here. We are going to speed it up. Edgar Velarde says, my father was absent in my life and we had an argument last summer and are not speaking right now. I'm waiting for him to apologize to me. Good luck. I mean, sometimes that day never comes. But, not to be negative, Nancy, even though I just was, my father was absent in my life. Okay. I think here's the thing. At some point you have to stop caring. I remember my father owed me so many apologies. I mean, it was never going to happen in this life. I doubt it'll happen in future lives. I mean, who knows how much, how long this is going to take for him, but not my problem. So Edgar, you have to reach a point, and our parents, the parents we chose, are often a great opportunity to do that, to learn to say that as far as others are concerned, your lovers, your children, your friends, your bosses, the government, whoever's in charge. I mean, any relationship under the sun, while you're having a human experience, requires that you say, not my problem. Good luck with all that. I am detaching, right? Your journey is your own. If you have things you need to do, if you cannot honor my energy, I will be over here living my best life. That's how this is going to go. You have to think of yourself like a freight train, full steam ahead, 180 miles an hour. If someone has the luck, okay, to come on and take a seat on your train, they better earn it in order to stay there, because you are going to keep moving. And so think of everyone as being honored to engage with you. And if they don't deserve a seat at your table, they can go. You are going to make sure that they do go, and that you keep that boundary set and you keep moving ahead. And I think that the other important thing to understand is if you never get, an apology out of him, that you immediately do not wait 15 years, immediately you start clearing that karma out of your energy. You could do a cord cutting, you could do forgiveness exercises, you could do, a release, a ceremony, and you say to yourself, I'm going to, release him and these negative feelings, but I'm also going to use this. So whatever he did, you should examine how you can alchemize it to use it for your own power and how to help others, also in the future. There's always something of value there. And I know that sounds cliche, but there really is. I mean, that's universal law. That's the point of coming here. That's not optimism or toxic positivity. That's reality. And we can use that every single day with every single person that we engage with. Christina, did you want to add anything to that?
Just that you have to get rid of dead weight. I mean, it's your dad, and you have to get right enough so you can move on. If that person's not, if he's toxic to you, then you have to move away from that. I have had to do that in my life. If people are not supportive of me, then immediately I create distance. I don't have bitter feelings towards you. I can't have that in my life right now. I need people who are supportive around me. So
that's right. 100%. And we have another one here, and then we are going to wrap it up. We have Hunter Santiago says, where can we look in our chart for what our parents owe us karmically?
I guess I would say I would look at the 4th house cusp. I would look at Saturn. And I would look at the moon and the sun, I think. And any planets in the 4th house speak to family. And karma, the main planet for karma is Saturn, but Pluto's involved too. So, and, the moon is past lives, plus it's your mom. The sun is who you came to be, but it does say something about your father. So, I don't know. It's kind of like I guess you just have to it's really not one place. It would be an integration.
Good. I would say, too, that one of the things that comes up a lot in my readings are just the basic struggles that are on repeat. There is in your life where you're constantly being tested over and over and over again, or you feel that there's a lot of past life history connected to this topic over and over. Look there. I mean, that's probably you chose the two most important people, right? Coming to earth in that contract, your parents, probably because of those most intense areas. And where there is drama, where it is hysterical, it is historical. Okay. There is some kind of debt going on there. I see that we have a bunch of other questions and comments, and I will be getting to them. So once this gets published, I'll be going through the feed. But we do want to wrap this up. We try to keep church services at an hour. I do just want to close on a comment here from a Lucy Marsh. I love this, and I think we all need to just listen to this for a second. Lucy says, thank you for this service. Prayer and healing request for me and my siblings for healing from my fatherly cyclical abuse. I may be meant to help others who have experienced the same abuse. That's right, Lucy. All right. So that is alchemy at its best. And I'm going to leave it there before I lose my shit. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Jill, for always doing a beautiful job. Thank you, Spirit. We'll see you guys back here in Roots in a couple weeks. Happy Father's Day.